Revenge, Book 2 in the New World series. Written by Stephen Llewelyn and performed by Chris Barrie.
Chapter 14. The Truth. Unarmed guards stepped out from the compound gates, holding up a hand for the personnel carrier to stop. Schultz opened the side hatch and jumped down from the front passenger seat to be recognized, dragging a few small branches off the vehicle and throwing them to the side as she did so. It had been a rough ride through the forest, and she fully expected things to get rougher still when she met with her grandfather. The soldier in charge of the watch detail clicked his heels and, nodding salute, let them pass. A few moments later, her driver pulled up outside the Eisernes Kreuz. "Get this vehicle to a recharge station. It works well," she ordered as she stepped through to the rear crew compartment to stand before Tim Norris. "He's still under?" "He came round about 15 minutes ago," one of the men replied, "but struggled so violently I had to cuff him again, Mom, to prevent him from worse injury." "Very well," Schultz acknowledged unemotionally. "Take the prisoner inside the ship and get him checked over by a medic. From here onwards, he is to receive the best possible care." "Is he the one that can teach us about the dinosaurs, Mom?" Schultz turned back. "Why not?" With that enigmatic response, she jumped from the rear hatch of the vehicle, strolled past another couple of duty guards, and disappeared into the ship. Heidi had never been aboard the Eisernes Kreuz, though she knew its layout by heart, and presently stood before the entrance to the executive suites, feeling the need of several steadying breaths before announcing her arrival. She really should have known better. Her grandfather was surely the most paranoid individual alive, certainly in this age. He would have been watching her from the moment she entered the ship, quite possibly even before that. The doors slid open before she could even activate the call button. "Enkelin!" greeted a cold voice she knew well. "Großvater." She returned the greeting formally. There were no hugs or how are yous at Schultz family reunions. Heinrich would only be interested in information, and if he did not like that information, there was no advantage in pursuing that line of thought. She had never failed him before, so if blame for the last word debacle could be shifted squarely onto the traitor Meritus's shoulders, maybe her perfect record, and more importantly her life, would be spared. Heinrich Schultz sat at a small conference table within his quarters, next to a window that looked west, over the edge of the plateau to the wide lower valleys beyond. Heidi was grateful that the ruined battleship was beneath their field of vision, where its ghost was unable to accuse her. Heidi's grandfather was almost impossible to fool. She would have to very carefully tell the truth, but not the whole truth, so help her God. "You may sit with me, Enkelin," he invited coolly. "Danke, sehr nett," she replied courteously. Heinrich responded by slamming his fist down on the table furiously. "Tell me what happened." So much for being nice, she thought. Over the next 30 minutes, she delivered a monologue, explaining all that had transpired since the New World left Canaveral. She was quite sure to include the incompetences and ineptitudes of all who had brought them to this point, including the woeful performance of Lieutenant Jeff Lloyd, the man who set them off on the wrong course to begin with, stranding them in this most inhospitable of times. Over steepled fingers, Heinrich's gaze burned through her. He said not a word, nor did he give away anything to indicate his thoughts. He was the best, least compassionate listener she had ever met. The silence into which her story vanished stretched, testing even the limits of Heidi's nerve. "Meritus has betrayed our cause, and it seems quite likely, given his location, offered his services, not to mention some of my personnel and equipment, to the enemy," he stated at last. Heidi nodded. "Ja, Großvater." "My battleship has been almost completely destroyed," he added. She nodded again, mutely this time. "And you completely fail to see these events coming," he snapped, showing the first signs of wrath. "Almost all our people defected with him, against you." Heidi lowered her eyes. Enkelin, you have most diligently reported just how blatantly everyone in this calamitous chain has let me down. Let us now move swiftly on to how you so fundamentally lost control of the situation and those under your command. Please do not spare any of the details, the hows and the whys, as you also explain the loss of fear and respect due to the Schultz name. She was in trouble. His tone was almost conversational. He was never conversational. It was time to play a most dangerous game. Großvater, their numbers allowed them to overcome their fear. Captain Douglas. Whom you also lost? Heidi swallowed, bowing her head in acknowledgement. Captain Douglas commands a fierce loyalty from his crew. They are almost besotted with the man, and yet none of them fear him. Perhaps our strategy? Sensing imminent and explosive peril, she backed down immediately. That is what I mean to say, Großvater, is... He stood, cutting her off. You know the price of failure. Give me one good reason why you should not pay the highest price for your actions here. Heidi looked up once more, for the first time staring the old man in the eye. It was time to play her last card. I have the boy. Temporarily thrown, Heinrich sat down slowly. The Norris boy? Ja, Großvater. He considered a moment. Bring him to me. Immediately. Go! She stood, bowed, and left quickly. Heidi returned a few minutes later. Two of her guards manhandled a bruised, frightened, and extremely distraught teenager into the suite behind her. Remove his restraints and leave us. The men obeyed and left immediately. Hands free, Tim batted away tears of despair and impotent rage, straightening as he visibly fought for self-control. I won't help you. Whatever you want, the answer is no. Heidi observed her grandfather's response sidelong. A slight smile tugged at his lips, doubtless amused by the boy's hopeless bravado, perhaps even moderately impressed by it. Your bearing does you credit, young man. I would have expected nothing less. You are murderers and thieves, Tim snapped in return. I don't care what you do to me, I will fight you. Heinrich chuckled, glancing to his granddaughter. Who could have guessed the boy would possess such courage, and after such a weak upbringing? Blood will out. Tim scrutinized the old man, puzzlement crossing his face. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Heinrich flashed him a smile that was now almost doting. It means I knew you would be a survivor. You don't know anything about me. I know everything about you, Mr. Norris, and your parents. My dad was a good man, and neither he nor my mum would ever have anything to do with the likes of you. Aha, is that so? But of course, I refer to your real parents. Tim caught his breath. The thought of this evil old man knowing more about him than he did himself added a feeling of nakedness to his terror. How can you know about my family? They were killed by religious fanatics in a raid on the factory where they worked. I know. I arranged it. No! Oh, yes, Herr Norris, Heidi spoke, feeling sufficiently confident to join in at last. You see, when people work for mein Großvater, they don't leave unless he allows it. Which is almost never, naturally, the old man interjected with an aristocratic drawl. Your parents disobeyed his instructions, Heidi continued. They tried to flee. It took 3 years, but we caught up with them. I imagine they thought themselves safe after all that time. Her lip curled cruelly. What had they done? Asked Tim, dulled by shock. It's what they did not do. They refused to eliminate people mein Großvater deemed worthless. But they died in a random terrorist attack. Like the one that led the New World here? She was grinning at him now, mocking. We orchestrated the attack on your parents' place of work by way of a final payment. Tim glared at the German beauty with loathing. Hundreds died in that attack. Yes, it worked very well, Heinrich answered.
It's a tactic called misdirection. I'm sure you know the saying about omelettes and eggs, Please tell me you didn't believe that ridiculous tale about reconstituted tampons being subversive and against the will of God? The idiots we employed to undertake the attack were ordered to come up with a convincingly misleading cover story. Unfortunately, when working with fringe types, they're rarely equal to anything more than the most menial of tasks. Although, he paused thoughtfully, perhaps they knew their business after all. The world has had to deal with all manner of lunatic factions over the last century, and their insanity did play smoothly in the media, barely raising any eyebrows in a world already gone mad. You see, that is why we are going to so much trouble to reboot the human race, young man. We are salvation.
You're evil.
The old man chuckled nastily.
Your adoptive father, Dr. Edward Norris, said exactly the same thing when we first contacted him. How simplistic your little world must seem.
Tim's jaw dropped, shock turning to creeping horror.
What? Oh, yes, we contacted him. When he refused to help us, we were obliged to arrange a little works accident, I'm afraid.
You killed everyone I ever had.
Tim's voice was barely more than a whisper, his heart completely broken. He had been fiddling in a pocket while they spoke, and with absolutely nothing else to lose, he produced the last of the 4 dingo wingers removed from the truck. In a flash of inspiration and misdirection, he made to throw it at the old man, and then launched it instead into the face of the woman who shot his mother. The loud crack and flash sent the old man flying backwards into an armchair, while Heidi collapsed to her knees, holding her face. Tim knew he had mere seconds. He dove across the room and unclipped her sidearm, lifting it from the holster at her hip. Stepping back, he waited for them to regain their feet.
You allowed him to appear before me armed?
Heinrich bellowed. Heidi's face was blackened, her eyes puffy, as she repeatedly blinked to regain her sight.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you both now,
Tim snarled.
You murdered my real parents, you murdered my dad, and today you murdered my mum, you evil witch.
He turned on the old man.
And you? What manner of twisted creature are you, Schultz?
The pain and rage on his young face rendered him almost unrecognizable. Wait! Heidi shouted, regaining most of her senses. Let me ask you a serious question, Herr Norris. Just one question. Tim nodded shakily for her to continue. How do you think you ended up being part of this mission?
You know how. My mum's a brilliant scientist, or she was until you...
Yes.
Schultz cut him off disdainfully.
In a world of 50 billion, there is an endless supply of such people. Were you not curious how you came to be among so many, what do you call them, high flyers? Somehow, among all these tycoons and politicians and celebrities and well-connected scientists, your little mongrel family sneaked aboard. This did not strike you as odd?
Tim said nothing. He simply stared with hatred.
You are here because of your parents.
Yes, you killed them. I get it. And now you want to kill me. I understand.
He spat angrily.
No, your adoptive mother was a necessary casualty. We tried to separate you from her with a little help from your adoptive father, but he refused, despite our most generous offer. We even ordered things so that you would be split from her on the flight to Mars, arranging separate seats for you, before the explosion that was to take us to our original destination. Do you not remember? She was a weak influence on you, but you, nevertheless, have courage. Do you also have intelligence? I have been told you are a boy genius, a prodigy. Can you not fill in the gaps for yourself? A sickening feeling was taking hold within Tim's belly, sickening and cold. He raised his left arm to support the pistol in his right,
which had begun to shake violently. Heidi spoke quickly. "If we wanted you dead, you would be dead. Had your real parents been mere employees, that would have been an end to it. But they were much more than that, so much more, and so are you." Tim's stomach dropped away completely, his whole body shaking now.
What do you mean?
He asked tremulously, though he already knew the answer. Heidi held out a hand towards him. "I mean, it is now time for you to come home, Timothy Schultz." Tim pulled the trigger. The end. The crew of the New World will return in Allegiance. This was an audio production of Revenge, written by Stephen Llewelyn, read by Chris Barrie. Produced by Dean Nelson and recorded at Generation Studio. Published by Fossil Rock Publishing.
Don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like or comment. Visit the link in the description for free New World companion stories, available for download as ebooks.